So here we've got the way to write key signatures. And you think of this is the complete, this is the biggest key signature you can have. We've got 7 notes, right? A through G, 7 notes. So the greatest number of sharps or flats you can have is 7. Once everything is sharp or flat, you're done. Now, every key signature with sharps can be thought as a subset of this. So if you only want 3 sharps, you just use the first 3. If you want 5 sharps, you use the first 5. So this image, which you've got on your handout, tells you how to write key signatures. Always write key signatures the same way. So in a sense, would you be saying the same thing if you put a few of these upper sharps down an octave and wrote them down there? Yeah, you'd kind of be saying the same way, except this is the way everybody always writes them. So you want to memorize this pattern of up, down, starting from here, down, up, down, up, down. Okay, and it's the same here, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. So you see, this thing is just moved like a block to different locations on the staff depending on what your clef you're in. Similarly, up, down, up, down, up, down. Well, this one's even easier. So you see, this one had the down, up, then the 2 downs in a row. This one just perfectly alternates, and each one of these does exactly the same thing. The tricky one that you'll want to memorize is tenor clef, because tenor clef is sort of like the opposite of the signatures with flats. We're going to go up, down, and we never have that double down because simply because of the position of C within the staff. It wouldn't look right. So you've got a simple symmetrical pattern in which you never go twice in a row in the same direction. So memorize this one. This is the tricky one. But if you memorize this, and this as shapes, then you just have to place them differently on the staves. Now, one other thing I want to point out about this image is the order in which sharps and flats come in. So if we're talking about sharps, first we've got F, then C, then G, then D, then A, then E, then B. So you should memorize that as the order in which they come in. You should also memorize the order of the flats, but that's pretty easy because for flats, you simply read the same thing in the opposite direction. Because you see we've got B flat, then E flat, then A flat, D, G, C, F. It just reads exactly the same thing in the opposite direction, the order of sharps and flats coming in as you progress through the key signatures. Now what this generates is something called the circle of fifths. Remember that we talked about how, in principle, you could keep going up as far as you wanted, and down as far as you wanted. But we also said that once you ran out of notes to add sharps and flats to, you're done. Now the reason that both of those things can be true is that these things wrap around in a circle, and it's usually represented this way. As you go clockwise, you add sharps. So first C major, G major with 1 sharp, D major with 2, A major with 3, E major with 4, B major with 5. Now when you get to F sharp, it's already actually happened, but especially at this point, if you get to F sharp, you've added 6 sharps, but if you've gone the other way, adding flats, F, B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, why do these two line up? Because they're enharmonically equivalent. There's a whole step between F and G, so up 1 from F and down 1 from G land you in exactly the same place. So when you get to 6 sharps or flats, you've landed at enharmonically equivalent keys. And as you keep going, because you do have 7 sharps or 7 flats available, you get to other enharmonically related keys. B is most naturally just B, but it's enharmonically equivalent to C flat because there's a half step there, right? Half step between B and C means that if you go down a half step from C to C flat, you've landed at exactly the same place as B. So 5 sharps and 7 flats sounds acoustically the same, although again, the spelling is very significant. Same thing here. If you go down a half step from D, you end up at the same place as up a half step from C. So D flat major with 5 flats and C sharp major with 7 sharps are enharmonically equivalent. So you could imagine going on to G sharp major, D sharp major, A sharp major, E sharp major, B sharp major, F double sharp major, and on infinitely, but you'd just be tracing enharmonic equivalence, and that's why you represent it as a circle. And conveniently, it's a circle laid out just like our familiar clock. There are 12 different positions here because there are 12 different pitch classes within the octave. We split the octave into 12 half steps. Each of those half steps can be the starting point for a major scale. One of the things that you should memorize right away is the number of sharps and flats in each key. So your instructor should be able to say A flat major, and you should say 4 flats right away. That's something you need to memorize right away. Now, hopefully, most of you, just through playing music, already have, within 2 steps on the circle of fifths, maybe even 3. I think the hardest ones to get are probably 4 and 5, because you don't use them that frequently, but you haven't gone far enough to be really weird. Now, what do I mean by that? Go far enough to be really weird. These ones these key signatures that you hardly ever use, with so many sharps and flats, actually become a little bit easy. So C sharp major, as we saw in an earlier video, writing a C sharp major scale is easy. Everything gets a sharp. So even though it's something you hardly ever see, C sharp major, well, everything's going to have a sharp, 7 sharps, you know right away. Similarly, C flat major, 7 sharps, 7 flats. You know right away what those things are. Now, the halfway point there's some interesting math behind this, but the halfway point, if you're going, the point where things meet, if you're going by fifths around, is actually the same as if you go by half steps around a circle, because we could have said C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G, A flat, B, B flat, B, C. So we could use the same circle to represent the same 12 pitch classes simply in ascending order, and we'd have that same middle point of F sharp. F sharp, and this will become easier to remember when we talk about intervals, but the interval that perfectly cuts the octave in half is the interval from C to F sharp, or equivalently, C to G flat. So that should make this number 6, halfway around, from noon to 6 o'clock, easy to remember. And then the only ones, hopefully, that you need to just memorize by brute force are 4 flats, 5 flats, 4 sharps, 5 sharps.